Good afternoon, everyone. Glad to have you joining us. We'll get everybody in from the waiting room and we'll start right at 2 o'clock. So glad you're here.
All right.
Good
Good
afternoon,
afternoon.
everyone. Glad to have you all joining us. Make sure, if you're not already, get yourself on mute so we can be sure everyone can hear what's going on. And we'll get started here in just a couple of minutes once we get everybody into our meeting. All right, 2 o'clock on the dot. So, how about we get the show started here? I know you all are very busy and have lots of great things to be doing in your community. So, thankful that you're willing to spend a little bit of time with us as we get ready for our visit to the Capitol to advocate for the arts. Every year is an important year for this work, but certainly this one, we've got a big hill to climb, and it's going to take every one of you and all of your friends and family to help us get there this year. So my name is Leslie Forrester. I'm the president of the Missouri Citizens for the Arts Board. I also am an executive director of an arts organization down in Springfield, Missouri. So very passionate about this work and the things that you all are doing as well. Missouri Citizens for the Arts is a nonpartisan organization, really designed to be a statewide grassroots group of advocates, just like all of you on this call, to help ensure secure funding and stable funding for the arts that will benefit our entire state. Um, it is a 501(c)(4). There's an advocacy organization, and we've been doing this work since 1980. And it's membership based. If you're not a member of Missouri Citizens for the Arts, please consider joining us. There's a lot of different membership levels. This money helps us with the advocacy work. There are a few contractors that are paid, but for the most part, the work's done by volunteers. And especially if you are an organization that hopes to or are currently receiving funding from the Missouri Arts Council, you really should consider investing in this organization because this is the group that helps make sure we get the money that goes into your grants. So, Caitlin will share more about that later on in our presentation today. We are governed by a board of directors from all over the state. We're always looking for folks who are willing to join us. We try to make sure we have representation from all of our communities, both on the executive committee with regional vice presidents, as well as representation from general board members. So both representative of the various arts forms as well as across the state. And we do also connect with the Missouri Arts Council, with the Missouri Alliance for Arts Education, with the Mid-America Arts Alliance, and many, many other partners that are working in the same field that we are. I will also mention that we do have a small job opening for a really important job. It's an administrator role for this organization to help us get it done. As you all know, trying to do all the work to renew memberships and do the support work, it takes a lot. And so we're at a position where we're looking for someone new. So if you're interested in part-time work and can be a part of that team, if you go to our website, mo4arts.org, you can learn more about that position as well, or certainly reach out to any of us and we can get that information onto you. So with that, we got sponsors to thank as well. That's an important piece to this conversation as well. Um, uh, there are several organizations that are supporting the Arts Advocacy Week work, individuals including Allison Schreiber, Evie Craig, and Marina Hunter, as well as the organizations listed here that are supporting this to make sure that our advocacy week is wonderfully done and beautifully presented as a really important part of our economy. Okay, so my stuff is done. Let's get to the really good stuff. I'm going to turn it over to our legislative consultant, Kyna Iman, to give us the real meat and potatoes. Oh, and Stephanie
Okay.
just joined us, actually. We have uh, invited a state representative to join us. And I know she's just getting on the call, so how perfectly timed you made that, Stephanie. If she is on. Stephanie, thank you for joining us.
Hi.
Good to
Hi.
see you. I know you
Nice
just
to
got
see you.
home, so
I did.
rolled right in the door. Representative Hine serves the District 136 down here in Springfield and serves on the Budget Committee among all the other wonderful work she's doing. So we asked her to come and talk to us a little bit about her perspective on things and how we can be helping her. Stephanie?
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for letting me visit with you all today. And actually, your timing is perfect because we heard the arts budget today and the lieutenant governor's budget. So I'm sure that kind of probably gave you the update. I just want to make sure that I'm covering the information that you want to hear. So if there is something that I leave out, just let me know.
So
So
Stephanie, we
yeah.
just jumped on. So
Okay.
Leslie did introductions, and so yeah, I have not given them the information
Okay.
yet about the governor and stuff, but
Okay. Do you want to go ahead and
whatever.
do that update or how do you want to do it kind of?
Um yeah, I will. Well, yeah. So for those of you that were not at the St. Louis advocacy workshop last week or have not heard yet, Governor Kehoe gave his State of the State address on last Tuesday. And with that, following, we get his budget recommendations for the year. And that kind of kicks off our advocacy season and what we asked for in the legislature. Unfortunately, his recommendation was not good. He has slashed the recommendation for the Missouri Arts Council and for each one of our cultural partners by half. And that is half of what was transferred into the Missouri Arts Council. So, just with that prefaces, I mean, I'm going to get deeper in the weeds, but I know Representative Hine has been super supportive. I thought the hearing went great this morning with Michael Donovan presenting Mac's budget. But we asked Representative Hine to join us just to kind of prep you for Advocacy Day and kind of how you can be best advocates and use that time wisely while you're at the Capitol or even leading up to it if you can't join us in Jefferson City that day. So, does that make sense, Stephanie? You want to
Yep.
take it
Yeah.
away from there?
Yeah, absolutely. So I just want to, I cannot emphasize enough the importance of the advocacy work that you are going to be doing this year and need to be doing this year. As Kyna said, we had a good hearing today. It was good to hear that the lieutenant governor would support increases in that budget. So that was good because we don't always get that, to restore that level of funding that he had proposed. So that was a positive thing to hear. As you're doing your advocacy work, what is really important is I always have people kind of build it from the inside and then start outwards. And so when you're thinking about your communities, look to where your local representatives are first and make sure that they are aware of the work that you're doing. And then as you start to figure out who else you need to visit with, and that can be either emails, and you all are great about sending emails, and those are good. You need to visit not only with your local representatives, but the people who serve on the budget committee and start with those folks first. As I mean, time is always limited in my mind. So start with those folks because we're going to be the ones who are working with that information first in the House, and then they'll have it in the Senate. And then once you have that kind of circle figured out, then you can go to the broader base of the body. And it's really what I have heard be really effective is whenever you can touch upon the activities, the events, all the things that Arts Council does or the arts funding does for your community specifically. I probably know about more of these little fairs and all the little things in these local communities because you all have done a good job prepping your legislators on the importance of that work. So having that dialogue is incredibly important. Having volume, like lots of touches, lots of outreach is also important. So don't feel like, oh, I'm going to email this person who's not my representative, who's may not be in my even region and think it's like goes unheard. It does. Like a good representative will see it and will pay attention to that. So your work really, it's like now you have now is a big time to address the shortfalls. What else do you want to know, Kyna?
How do you like to be contacted? I know different legislators, some like text, some like email, some like face to face. What, any words of wisdom there?
It kind of depends on where we are. Like right now, we are stacked in budget hearings. So I like kind of a little bit of everything. I like an email because that one I can see it when we're out of hearings. If it's immediate, text is absolutely okay. But for me, a text I want from somebody like Leslie's in our region, right? So Leslie and Kyna, that's who I would want that text from. I don't know. I'm probably old school and I hold my text messages a little bit different than my emails. And then, for the advocacy day, I think it's who you can cover. So, make sure that your one pagers are tight, make sure that you understand, like you have a short window of time to communicate your needs and make sure you're ready just to hit the ground running with that messaging. And I tell people, especially if they're new to advocacy, is like don't feel bad if you only get 10 minutes or 5 minutes of a representative's time. That is kind of what we can give at this moment. And it's going to be hard to reach your budget members, honestly, because we once we hit a hearing room, we're in there like almost the whole day. So, if you get 2 minutes with them, that's good too.
Great. Well, yeah, my motto is know them before you need them. So you have
Yeah,
a
absolutely,
relationship
absolutely.
with these
Yeah,
folks.
and the one thing that I heard today in the hearing, and I've heard it in the past, particularly whenever we were able to increase some funding, is that multiple representatives could speak to the value that the arts provided to their communities, and it was direct and it was close to home, and that's exactly what you want. You want them to be able to share that with other members.
Great. So any questions for Representative Hine? I don't know. Leslie, are we doing questions yet? I think we may save those for the end.
Yeah, maybe we'll save those for the end, and then if we need to follow up with the representative, we certainly will.
Yeah.
Um, you've got a
Well,
big job, and we're grateful for your insights on how this process actually works and what it looks like on the ground.
Yeah, well, I appreciate it. I mean, I hope everybody takes the opportunity to advocate. I really wish more people could see how the Capitol worked, and could feel like they were part of the process. So you all being willing to advocate is huge, and I think that's what makes our legislative body better. So keep up the good work. You have a really good. I will say, Kyna does a really really good job. She knows how to get around the building. So please know that
Mhm.
she does a great job for you all.
well, thank you,
Agree.
Representative. And we
Yeah.
Yeah,
will come see you on the 4th. I'll be seeing you before that, but we appreciate, and your comments today were spot on in committee. We really appreciate all the kind words you said about how important the arts are in your
yeah,
community and hope
yeah.
you keep those programs going.
Me too. Me too. That's why we need to get that funding restored. So we'll work on it.
Okay.
All
Well,
right.
thanks for
Thank
joining
you.
us
Thank
today.
Yeah.
you.
Okay.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
Bye. Okay, back to you, Leslie. Or is it back to me?
I think it's back to you, Kyna.
Okay, so we're going to dig in. For those of you who are new on the call, thank you so much for joining us. I love that we have such a great turnout for the training today. We're going to touch base on something some of you may already have heard of. One of the earmark funds that the Missouri Arts Council receives its funding from is the non-resident professional athlete and entertainers tax. This is an income tax like you and I pay. But it's earmarked when it gets to revenue from professional athletes and entertainers that live outside the state. So even some of those Chiefs players over there by you, Margaret, that live on the Kansas side of the state line, their funding, when they work at Arrowhead Stadium, that money is earmarked as part of this A&E tax. And so we're looking right now at collecting nearly 40 million in that fund this year. Um, our fiscal year runs July 1 to June 30th. So we've already collected all the football funds. We'll start collecting a lot of the baseball income. A lot of the soccer money is starting to come in. And with the World Cup, we're supposed to even receive more money in that fund this year due to a lot of the arts activities and cultural programming that's going on, concerts around the World Cup as well. So I know a lot of you ask, why aren't we getting 60% of that funding? We have had numerous attorney general opinions, and from what we have been told, that even though this is in statute, that unless we did a statewide vote by everybody in the state, that money is still subject to appropriations. And so that's why we're looking at our core this year was 10.1 million. But the governor, like I said, has reduced that down to around 6 million this year. Uh, so we've got a lot of work to do to restore that funding and get it back up to where we were, just to even out the playing field for this coming year. So that's a little bit of background information on the A&E tax. And then the other 40% of that, thank you, Caitlin. Um, if you want to go, yeah, look at that bullet that says 10% of that A&E tax goes to our four cultural partners, which is the State Library Networking Fund, the Humanities Council Trust Fund, Public Broadcasting, and Historic Preservation. Those were all also recommended to receive a 50% reduction in their funds from the governor. So humanities and public broadcasting are under the same budget as the Missouri Arts Council under the lieutenant governors. The libraries are under the Secretary of State, and historic preservation is under the Department of Natural Resources, just for some information there. So Caitlin has a lot of these stats, especially the one that's at the top of this slide on our cards that we're going to be leaving behind for legislators for you guys to pick up at Advocacy Day. This is also on Missouri Citizens for the Arts website. So you can download that if you're having meetings with your legislator in the district, or if you can't make it to Advocacy Day on February 4th. So we're trying to make this as easy for you as possible. But as Stephanie said, Representative Hines said, it really, I mean, they look at numbers all day long. And until you put a name or a project with that line item in the budget, it just, those numbers don't stick with them as much. But if you can say in your hometown, you know, we brought in X number of tourists for the Folklife Festival, or, you know, the number of audiences you have on any given night. And just those are what really have impacts. And we heard that today from numerous members of the committee. Representative Steinmeier was bragging about the Slavic festival that we fund in Sugar Creek. Kathy Jo Loy from Joplin was bragging on some of the events that take place in Joplin. Lewis Riggs was talking about Hannibal. So Representative Collins was talking about Sumner High School and how that would have closed had it not been some of the arts program funding. So we're trying to make it as local as possible to so these people can connect with what we're asking for. So this is our ask. We're asking to restore the core to 10.1 million. MCA also advocates for the Missouri Fine Arts and the Missouri Scholars Academies, which are for gifted children in the arts and math and science. That core budget is 850,000. We were able to get an increase in that last year for those academies. Unfortunately, the governor vetoed any new increases that we had. So we are advocating to get $1 million back in that budget. And this is the first year, this was key in the budget hearing this morning. This is the first year that MAC has been able to get funding in all 100% of the House and Senate districts. Thank you, Leslie Forrester, for working so hard on that Ghost Light program. But that is huge because a lot of times I think legislators just think the arts funding goes to maybe St. Louis, Kansas City, maybe Springfield and Columbia, but have no idea that we actually have funding in every single House and Senate district, no matter where you're located. So that's key. Just real quick, as you can see, we've got 197 members of the House and Senate. Takes a lot of time to get around to talk to all of them, even if I only get 5 minutes with each one. So I'm going to be leaning heavily on you guys to help it spread the word and educate them on what the arts do. The budget members will be familiar with your budget and what goes on, but if people aren't on the budget committee or not directly involved with an activity in their community, they might not be as familiar, so you may have to spend a little more time with them while you're trying to explain it. And let's face it, the arts are a great commodity. I mean, this is a sales pitch. This is just like you when you're reaching out to your donors. These folks are your donors. They are giving, $10.1 million to our cause. So treat them like you would if you're going to ask the bank president for funding or whoever, is a corporate sponsor of your events. And don't be afraid to invite them to your programs and your events. A lot of them will take you up on it. And I know that because they've called me for tickets to some of your events. And who do I call to get in to see this exhibit or whatever? So just reach out to them. We've got a lot of folks that we need to reach out to. So Stephanie covered this a little bit on how to contact your legislator. I'm kind of old school. I think face-to-face is still the best. And if you can't come to Jefferson City, they're back in the district. So take time to reach out to them in your community. Like I said, invite them to an event. Once you get to know them, get their phone number, get their email, stay in contact with them. And say thank you. A lot of times these legislators get asked for everything, but a lot of people just don't take the time to give them credit for getting us increases. It wasn't that long ago that we were stuck on that $4.8 million for MAC for what, a decade, it feels like. And so we have been kind of spoiled with some of the increases we've gotten recently, but I think we have to thank them for those increases and explain to them what you've been able to do with some of those increases and if we restored the funding, how that would work in their districts. So, yeah, next. So Caitlin's going to take it away here on all the big plans for Advocacy Day, and then we're going to take some Q&A at the end. So, Caitlin.
Yes. Hello, everyone. My name is Caitlin Davis, and I am the Advocacy Day coordinator with Missouri Citizens for the Arts. So I just wanted to give you some things that you can do after this training and just some resources that we'll have available, and we'll follow up via email, but then I'll also add some to the chat here when we move to the Q&A portion. So please make plans to connect with your legislator. Like we just went over, there's lots of ways to contact them. And so reach out and try to schedule a meeting for February 4th if you're coming for Advocacy Day. If not, try to schedule something during Arts Advocacy Week, which is that whole week, either via Zoom or a phone call or an in-district meeting that week. We will have an advocacy agenda that's already on our website that we've kind of gone over today, and just be sure to review that. Make sure you're familiar with what our ask is and some of those key stats that we included there. And then we also have an arts advocacy toolkit that I will submit that link in the chat here shortly. You can review that and just get a few more tips for Advocacy Day and more information on how to best contact. Really be prepared with the information, your elevator speech of what you're going to share with those legislators. And then you can also engage with MCA on social media. So the more you're able to share our posts or promote that you're attending Advocacy Day, that brings more advocates to the Capitol in order to increase our voice for arts funding. And legislators also love to share, social media posts that they're included in. So it's good to take a picture when you're meeting with your legislator and share that on social media. So there is a QR code there that you can scan to connect and get registered for Arts Advocacy Day. We will start with a briefing in the Truman office building. So that is across the kind of diagonal to the Capitol. We'll start with a briefing there. We'll go over up-to-date information, answer any questions if you have those, and be able to connect to help prepare you for your meetings even further. And then there will be some regional lunches on the fourth floor that you can attend as part of Advocacy Day. And then you're going to be scheduling and having your individual meetings in the Capitol. And you can feel free to do that all afternoon until they either go back into session or when they're out of committee hearings. You can also pull them off the floor to have a quick meeting or meet with their legislative aide. But it's really important that you give them the packet of information that we'll have prepared that you'll get at the briefing. So you'll be able to pick up a folder for each legislator that you're meeting with that will include a postcard that has different stats and our ask on it. It'll also include grant reports from the Missouri Arts Council. So like we mentioned, that'll list exactly what funding is happening in their district. That'll be key in encouraging funding to go back to that core amount. And then there will be the Missouri Arts Council Awards in the first floor rotunda at 1 p.m. that you're invited to attend. MCA will also have a table in the rotunda. So as you're having meetings, if you have any questions, you can feel free to find us on the first floor and we can help answer any questions you have there. Another thing to do after this training that we're trying to fill up is our Adopt a Legislator program. So I'll show some quick screenshots and the next slide, but this is just a commitment to stay in touch with your legislators. So you're signing up to adopt them and make sure that they get communication after we send out action alerts. They'll be communicated with for Arts Advocacy Week and making sure they're staying up to date on our asks that we have. So if you see that your legislator is already adopted, no problem. Please still reach out to them. We want to have that volume of outreach as much as possible, but you can feel free to adopt another legislator that still has availability. So it is just a Sign Up Genius program. So you'll just select a slot, add your name and email, and that is you committing to adopt them for the session. As we mentioned kind of at the beginning here, we are a membership organization. So we have a lot of members from around the state, and we rely on these to be able to have our arts advocacy events and have Kyna in the Capitol all session long. We really need these dues. So especially like Leslie mentioned, if you receive a Missouri Arts Council grant, we would love to have you as a member for us. You can join on our website, and it is tiered based on budget size. And we are very thankful for all of our members that we have and help support the arts. I will drop a link in the chat to join us as well. Not only do we have organization membership, but we also have individual membership through our education fund, and that is tax deductible for that one. All right. I'm going to stop sharing my screen now and we can open up the floor for questions.
Caitlin, I did want to mention and thank a lot of you who I know submitted written testimony for the hearing today online. If you can also copy that and send that to your state rep and your state senator, because I don't know, if you're not on that committee, you're not going to see that written testimony. And we want to make sure we cover all of those 197 legislators. So, Caitlin, do you want to drop that link from this morning? We can still submit written testimony if you haven't yet, up till midnight tonight. So, looks like Linda, you've got a
Yes.
question.
Hi, thank you very much. I have two questions and I wrote them down. One of them is, I was a little confused on the 40.9 million. So theoretically, we should have gotten 60% of that, but we're only getting 25%. And then they've changed that to not really 25, but 6 million. So has anybody ever initiated a bill such that they must perform and execute in accordance with the 60% allocation rule and the
Yeah, so it's in statute. It says shall, and we even remove the word subject to appropriation. And we have had a lawsuit. We've challenged it. Shirley Hellsberg funded one back. Gosh, when was that? Mid 90s, late 90s. And so they've just never fully funded it.
wow. I guess they get away with what they want to get away with.
Yeah, and it's not only us yet. The lieutenant governor also in statute, it says he shall have a position for senior advisor for senior citizens. And that position's never been filled until this year. They had a long conversation at the beginning of our budget hearing on that this morning as well, if you were tuned in.
And then I was a little confused on that one slide that had the 10%, and then it showed like the 10 million and or where it was going. I was confused. There were 4 organizations listed under the full first bullet. How much is each of them going? And then say if we're only getting 6 million, who exactly is that all of that 6 million going to?
So the 6 million is going to the Missouri Arts Council.
Oh, okay.
And then 1.7 million has been recommended out of 2.1 million to the Humanities Council.
And is that out of that 6 million?
Athlete and no, that's over and above.
Oh, okay.
That's in that full athlete and entertainer tax. But if you they should be getting 10%, so they should be getting 4 million instead of only getting 1.7.
Oh, wow, I see. Oh, okay.
And public broadcasting, I think, was cut down to 800,000.
And when we're there, should we be advocating for Missouri Arts Council, or I'm associated with the St. Louis Symphony Orchestra? Should I be sort of tooting their horn?
I would do both. So Del Taylor brought up the symphony this morning in the budget hearing. As you know, he got some funding put in not this last year. Well, he did get it put in last year, but it got vetoed. But he got 2 million the year before for your new
the new facility
there. Yes. So I think making it local. The other thing that Representative Taylor did was it's not just the new Symphony Hall, but how it creates a market for commerce around Powell Hall.
Oh, yeah.
And with the On God Hotel and, the Gateway Center for Education across the street. And then Michael Donovan was able to expand on that, how that area is a creative district. So I think tying it into what you do there at Powell really affects the arts, not just in that area, but throughout the whole region. And I think, didn't they just have a performance in Columbia last night?
Oh, was it last night? Darn. I
Yeah.
was hoping somebody, one of the assistants to my rep I was talking to her about it and I was hoping she could go. I didn't realize it was last night.
Yeah.
But I do want to get from them a list of where they do perform outside of St. Louis, because they do tours. And then
Yes.
also a list of the volunteer things that the symphony does for kids, like the thousands of students from miles around that go there and get oriented in their symphony playground, where kids come and can learn about individual instruments. And I mean, these are really important foundational things for children.
Right. And I think if you guys look at that adopt a legislator, where we really have trouble filling the voids are in some of our suburban areas,
Oh,
not so much the rural areas. Todd does a good job, and Linda and some of them on our board and filling, some of the outstate areas, but we really have so many legislators in that, like Jefferson County, St. Charles County,
wow, really?
Eastern Jackson County suburb area that we don't have people pick up things for.
Great.
So,
Thank you.
okay. Barbara,
Yes,
you got good to see you again.
great to see you too. This has been very informative. I'm so new to all of this, but not new to the beauty of art and what's happening with it. Is the St. Louis Artists Guild, are they connected with going to this advocacy meeting at all? Uh,
Uh, they have in the past. I haven't heard from anybody recently. I don't know, maybe Anne or somebody on the phone or on the
I'll check with them because I work closely with them.
okay.
So you said to invite some of the people that you might run into there, the House of Reps and the senators to come to the events you do
Mm-hmm.
in St. Louis that might get some good feedback as well. My question is, not Michael Roberts, is he and Brian Williams, have they been adopted? I know Brian is running for something else now, but
Yes, they've been very supportive, but Senator Williams and Senator Carla May are the two St. Louis legislators on the
right.
Senate Budget Committee, so I would reach out to them
Well,
especially.
okay, but so Brian Williams, and
Mm-hmm.
I know Carlin, her mom, yeah, Carlin, and so now the governor. You said the governor has made his budget cut. Is there any way that this could be changed? If someone talk to him, or do you think he might
Oh,
be?
yes.
So if
Yes.
someone did meet with him and
So
share some things that maybe he might be willing to see if he can move things around.
So where we are right now is so he sets a number that
Mhm.
and it was a $600 million cut. So we
Right.
weren't just the only group that got cut.
Mhm.
But now the game that comes down to the details with like me and the House Budget Committee is we have to find somewhere else in the budget that
Mhm.
maybe didn't get cut or got a slight increase and try to steal that money from their budget to put into our budget to
Mhm.
make that money up, which is tough, right? Because we feel like everybody
It's
should have been
important.
held whole. That did come up this morning in the hearing. Like we know times are tough. We know we're going to experience some cuts, but we feel like we've just proportionately been hit hard. So
Well,
I think
my
when people
question is,
ask you that on Advocacy Day, that could be your answer is like, why did we get 50%? Why not 10%, which has been kind of across the board.
well, normally how I would work if I went in there and then could get to talk to him because I've got a little note out seeing if that's possible because I do plan to go. If I got to
Okay.
speak to him and shared with him the love that I have for art and just to get him all pumped up about it and then leave that to not to say that why, but this is what we
Well,
love, and
you know,
maybe put it on his mind, and maybe he'll rethink it because that's what I'm there for, the advocacy part.
it
Could
was
that
very
work? Do you think that'll
frustrating given
work?
that he's former lieutenant governor and our budget was under he knows it more than any other statewide. So it's
Hmm.
been frustrating. I had a question in the chat from Danielle. It has a lot of questions. So a one pager, Caitlin, you want to go over that on the
Yeah.
postcards?
Yeah, so a one pager is pretty much what it says. It's just like one sheet of paper that has all the information. So it's kind of your ask and mission all kind of condensed into one sheet so that they can easily reference that if they have, bills come up about different things, or they're going in to vote for something, they can easily access stats. Legislators can. So our one pager is like in a postcard form. And so it's got different figures on it. It'll have that non-resident athlete and entertainers tax information on it again. And then it also includes our ask within that. So that will be sent out beforehand during Arts Advocacy Week. I will be sharing the files either late next week or before
And
we have Advocacy Day.
a lot of that information's in the advocacy toolkit that's already online, correct?
Correct.
Yes.
Yes. So you can also go to our website and view our agenda, our advocacy toolkit, different resources there as
Yeah.
well.
And are we creating a unique message about our experience? So Chat GPT is my new best friend, but this is so elementary. MCA used to do like a template letter, but this is where you have to get to know, you have to do a little homework. You need to either go on their Facebook page or go on the House or Senate website when you're looking at your legislator, pull them up, look at what committees they serve on, it will show you even where they go to church, how many kids or grandkids they have. Just do a little research, like what do they like? Because then you can tailor your message for that particular state rep. Some of them are going to be more financially driven, like want the statistics of how much money this brings back to the state. Others that are in the education field want to know how many students or kids you're reaching out to. How does that improve test scores? Just try to, like I said, make it unique to that legislator. There's not one message that fits all 197. It really does take a little background research on each one of these folks. So hopefully those answered your questions there. All right. Other questions?
What about there's a question about coordinating messaging, those folks that have the same representative or senator so they can schedule a meeting together.
Yeah, and we're really going to try to do a better job at that this year at the morning training. In the past, we've just kind of put all the packets out and let people grab them. This year, we're going to have a much more coordinated effort. So we have um less people just dropping in and seeing these people. It doesn't mean you can't still go see your state rep or state senator. And if you're the only one, we're gonna probably have you see them and some others. But we are trying to coordinate that so there, especially like in the St. Louis region where a lot of you guys are all in Grand Center, you're just not all this hitting the same rep over and over and over all day long, because then that just turns them against us. At the end of the day, it ends up, they're like, I get it. I got the message. Like, go away. We don't want that to happen. We want to be kind of a united front. So we'll go over that with you the morning of the advocacy training before we head to the Capitol.
Question about providing information last year about the revenue brought in by the arts versus other sectors. Is that something that we have this year? Was that in the slideshow, maybe at the briefing? I'll have to think about that one, Janik. I'm not sure that I remember. I haven't gotten that far in my agenda for things to prepare, so.
I know that a lot of times, like we partner with Americans for the Arts who have some similar information like that, where they share other sectors and then
Oh,
kind of do a spotlight on Missouri. So that is accessible through our website or also Americans for the Arts website.
We can double check those
yeah.
numbers
I
too.
think, Margaret, you had that in yours, didn't you, with the labor and bureau statistics that we have as much as agriculture?
I
Or
did, and I do, and I can, as soon as I ask my question too, I can get that document and link it into the chat so
Oh,
people have it. It's from the one I used was from the Arts Action Fund, and the U.S. Bureau of Economic Analysis measures arts and culture sector across the U.S. and at the state level, and it shows that for-profit, nonprofit, the size of the arts culture sector in the state of Missouri is an $11.5 billion sector. So asking for 10.1 is not out of control. Certainly we are delivering on the results. Kind of, I have a quick question, if I may, because I just math nerd here and my brain has to wrap around it. When you say the ask is 10.5, but we're getting 6.4 roughly from the governor's proposal, how is that half?
So I know you're gonna say that. So yeah, I thought we were getting a 70% cut originally down to 3 million and then cried my eyes out. And then I found out, oh wow, lucky us, we're only getting 50% cut. Because it comes from the transfer amount. And there was 2 million in there for the Truman Library that got counted in, which was a one-time amount.
Okay.
So instead of cutting half from 10.1 million, they cut it from the 12.5 million.
Okay. Okay.
So that's what took us
So
down to the 6.3
so it's a 50% reduction from
from the transfer, which
last
is,
year's appropriation.
yes, which
Okay.
is way too much in the weeds for you
It,
guys.
it is. I just was trying to make the math make sense.
Yeah, but yeah, that's true. So we're down to what's left in the budget book is $6,393,846. 6,393,846, if you want to be exact. It's is what they were looking at in the budget book this morning, and this is what the budget book looks like.
Another question about whether or not it would be beneficial for artists to do demonstrations in the rotunda, and if that's even allowed.
We used to do that on Advocacy Day, and I guess we made too much noise because they've now passed a resolution that they can only have entertainment between noon and 1. And with the Arts Council having their arts awards in the rotunda, we had to quit doing that. I know the Humanities Council on the day before, they've kind of joined up with us. They're coming in the day before. They're going to have a lot of their history actors, reenactors, like Mark Twain and Laura Ingalls walking around the Capitol. But yeah, that's something, Alex, that we've talked about doing again. I think when you get to the Capitol and you see how many people there are and how crazy it is, that might not be the best time or the best place to do it. But even Margaret and I have talked about doing like a Monday night paint night down on the first floor rotunda, kind of like Pinot palettes, I'll bring the wine, Margaret will bring the canvas and paint, and we'll let them go for it. So we are looking at doing some other outlet fun things like that just to get them thinking more creatively.
Mm-hmm. Awesome.
Oh, I didn't know libraries are coming too. Great.
Let's see, what else?
Any other questions?
I'm having a problem attaching the document you wanted, but I can share numbers from it if that's okay. And I've got them handy. If you give me just.
And Margaret, if you want to send that to me, I can make sure that I share it with the resources.
Great. I just sent it to Leslie.
Put it on.
So just so you know, when you're comparing size of sectors or the few that we know, according to the numbers from the Bureau of Economic Analysis, the arts and culture sector in the state of Missouri, as we know, is $11.5 billion. Agriculture and forestry in the state of Missouri is valued at 6.5 billion. So the arts and culture sector is larger than agriculture, which will surprise many of your representatives and senators.
Mm-hmm.
It's slightly smaller than transportation, which is valued at 15.6 billion. So if that gives you context, those numbers are there. And I can always help people, think about their stories. related to their visit. So there's my email if anybody has questions, but those
That's great.
documents will get on the Missouri Citizens for the Arts website.
Awesome. Thank you, Margaret. And maybe we can incorporate that into our briefing as well for some contextual information.
Yeah.
That's great. Lisa, I had a question about a report in the Missouri Independent that there was a discovery of a $250 million error in state projections. What does that
Yes, that was all over the news yesterday. The budget director is in big hot water because clearly he's not counting the beans correctly down in his office. But that doesn't loosen things up for us. Unfortunately, they are wanting to put that money aside as part of the rainy day fund because they've almost depleted that amount in the rainy day fund. So I was hoping, oh joy, that could help replace that $600 million cut. But from what they were saying today, they're not going to touch that money.
So it's 250 million extra dollars we didn't have, not the other way around.
Yeah, they
Okay.
thought they had 4 million and it ended up being 249 million.
Wow, I've messed up numbers before, but oof,
Yeah,
that's a
that's
big.
a huge rot row.
Okay. What other questions? These have been fantastic questions. This is a messy process and it's not exactly clear how all of the things work and all the mechanisms. So when in doubt, email, let us know if you have questions. Kyna has been doing this for a while and has seen all of the different versions of this. So anytime I'm not sure, Kyna's my first contact to say, okay, explain this to me. So we've got experts in the room to help us navigate these uncharted waters, or I guess charted waters probably. But having all of you here is really always encouraging, and we're sending up good vibes for great weather in 2 weeks. We'll get the snowstorm out of here this weekend so we can all be in Jeff City because this is a really critical year for us all. So as you think of questions, and we'll send out the slides. There, question about providing the recording, which I believe we'll be able to do. Caitlin is saying yes. So, and if something comes up, please don't hesitate to reach out. We'll be delighted to help answer questions. So thank you all for taking the time to be with us this afternoon. And we'll see you in a few weeks.
Yes, thank you all. And I will again send out the resources. We shared the slides and the recording shortly after this. So thank you all for being here. We'll see you on the 4th.
Okay, keep up
Thank
the
you
good
very
fight,
much.
guys.
Bye.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.